Los verbos con cambio de raíz. All the verbs here are going to follow specific changes. For example, here you have verbs that change the vowel from E to IE. So it's not just cerrar, but it's also these other verbs. Okay. E to I is going to be pedir, and then these three other verbs. These are not all the verbs in the dictionary that are going to be like this, but they're giving you the most common ones. Over here, O to UE is the change. Here are some other verbs that have that same change. U to UE. Okay, and actually jugar is kind of on its own. Alright, here's a good place to remind you of something that you probably heard in high school, that some verbs, one way to think about them, one thing to call them is boot verbs, because they're going to have changes like this. Okay, this is the boot, some shoelaces, alright, but this is the boot, and the letters that change, or the vowels that change, are the ones within the boot. Nosotros and vosotros do not change. Nosotros and vosotros will rarely be affected by any kind of vowel change, and it doesn't happen in the present indicative. It might happen in the subjunctive occasionally, but not in the present indicative, which is what we're doing right now, just the regular present tense. So for all of these verbs, you can draw a little boot, and you will find that nosotros and vosotros do not change. They do not have the spelling change. Okay, and some of these verbs, they have related vocabulary words. For example, okay, volver, here's one. So most of the times, if there's another verb that looks very similar to this, it'll also experience the same change. Volver, that's to return, as in I went back home, I returned home. Volví a mi casa, o vuelvo a mi casa. Devolver is to return an item, for example. If you buy something at a store and then you return it, the verb for that is devolver. It wouldn't be volver. Devolver. Devolver is going to follow this same change. Okay? It's obviously rooted in the word volver. Okay, it's only slightly different. Most of the time, if there's a verb that looks very similar, it's because it shares the same root, and it's going to experience the same type of change. These changes, maybe if you said cerro, yo cerro, maybe somebody might understand you, but they might not. Okay, sometimes it's very important. Like pedir, if you don't change the E to I, you're going to say yo pedo, which means I fart. You don't want to say that unless that's really what you were trying to say.